Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again this week. So, this week we are talking about the different types of data types. And I would say that a data type is an attribute associated with the data that tells the computer how to interpret its value. So, as we learned this week, there were three types of data types. We looked at collective, we looked at primitive, and then we looked at objects. So, I would start with objects and say that objects, my understanding is they are a collection of data points that have meaning, they give meaning as a whole, and they allow also to store multiple data entries at the same time, and normally they have one key property name, and then they have values, and this could be integers, they could be strings, they could be arrays, or they could be boolean. So an example in a business world that I thought of is, let's assume you are running a car business and you're creating a database for your car selling business. So this would look like something like your key property would be car. And then we are going to have values that could be anything. It could be Boolean, it could be integers, it could be text. So we could say car, and then that's a key property name. Then when we go down, we're gonna say something like model. We could say something like Toyota. Then we could have another, we go lower, we talk about interior. We could say interior color, black or white. Or we could say transmission type. We could say automatic or manual. We could say something like number of doors. We could say five or two or four. We could include the mileage, which is integers. We could say 80,000 miles. We could list all those things concerning our key property, which is a car. Then we have all these layers coming down of it, which are values, which could be anything. And then the second type we have is the collection. Now, collection is like a group of values of single data type of in a column. And as we learned this week, it allows you to combine data entries together and create a collection. So, my example that I thought of in this type of scenario would be, let's say you have a restaurant, for instance, and in this restaurant you have a classification of your products, what you're selling as either vitamins, proteins, or starch or carbs. So in a column, let's say in one column you are creating your restaurant database, and one column you talk about proteins. So in proteins you could give now a list down there and talk about what you're providing. What proteins do you have? Then from proteins, you could build down and say you have fish, you have lamb, you have goat meat, you have cow meat. You could list all those types of proteins available in that column. Or let's talk about a school, something like a university, where you are creating a database for a university, and then in one column you have, let's say, faculty. So under the column of faculty you could create other entries and talk about Professor so and so, Professor Mike Dean, Professor Tom Crawford, Professor Mary Linda. You could talk about Professor Rebecca Best or something like that. And the other type we learned, the last one was primitive data, and we learned that primitive data allows us to define our data types and specify data and how it is supposed to be distributed. And for primitive data type can be a lot of things. It could be text, it could be arrays, it could be integers again, it could be boolean, it could be so many things. So normally, think in a business world, think about, let's say we are going to create a new account. Let's say you in this website, in this company, before you interact with the company, you have to create account. Facebook, Twitter, or any Kansas City Power and Light, you want to create your account, or Kansas City Water. Before you proceed, you have to create an account. And when you go to create an account, you will have all those types of primitive data points where you will include things like date, you will include things like sometimes it will show you the time. Also in business, uh, integers, a lot of numbers. If you're talking about business now, business type, primitive data in business, then you're talking about a lot of numbers. If you look at your ledger in business, it has a lot of numbers. Those are all integers. If you look at, if you walk in and you get a receipt for whatever you buy, you look at the receipt, you will have text, you will have integers, you are going to have a timestamp, like showing when, what time, what day that you bought the product. It will show all those things. And balance sheet, for example, when you create a business balance sheet, you will have integers, you will have text. So that is my discussion for this week. I'm glad to hear any responses that you guys have. Thank you very much, guys.